Okay, we are recording. We can see everything, right? Everyone can see the slides. Wonderful. Well, thanks for everyone for being here. My name is Sarah Norris. I'm the Member and Sponsorship Director with OEN. I've been with OEN for just over 2 years. Typically, Riley O'Brien joins us for these events, but she is off at another event with Kara, and our team is very scattered today. So we are truly being statewide, I guess. Um, But today this is a special treat. We have Suzanne and Kyle joining us to lead a session called Leading Through Uncertainty, Stewardship, Change, Leadership, and Staying Human Under Pressure. These business essentials courses are designed to help give you kind of those business, really those essentials that you're going to need for your business, whether you're leading just you and one other, or you're leading a team. Um, and we, as OEN, aren't the experts in everything, so we have to pull in the experts, and that's why we have Suzanne and Kyle here. I'll do a quick little intro, and then I'm going to actually turn it over and just be quiet. If you have questions as we go through this session, please feel free to unmute yourself. This can be really interactive. It's a small enough group that I don't think we're all going to be talking over each other. If you feel more comfortable putting your question in the chat, that's fine as well too. I will manage that as we go through, and then I think we've left some time at the end as well for questions. So all in all, just feel free to just open your mouth and ask those questions as we go through. I'll do a little intro, like I said, and then we'll get started. So Suzanne Van Amberg with Stewardship Angle, that is who is Stewardship Angle is hosting us today. Suzanne is a seasoned organizational leadership and change consultant with over 35 years of executive leadership experience in the baking industry. She partners with organizations to strengthen leadership pipelines, navigate succession, and guide organizations through complex cultural and operational transitions. And Kyle, who is actually joining us from North Carolina today. Kyle is the CEO and founder of KMCC, sorry, my dog in the back, a consulting practice focused on compliance, risk management, and organizational resilience. She blends regulatory precision with a human-centered approach, helping financial institutions strengthen compliance programs while also cultivating sustainable, empowered teams. Why did I say items? I'm sorry. So both Kyle and Suzanne have a ton of expertise and just wonderful information and knowledge and to share with us. So I'm gonna stop talking. I think that was everything. And we'll go ahead and get started.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thrilled to be in community with all of you. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time in this space today. I just think some of the intentions about our time really is about navigating uncertainty as leaders, and part of, building something is building support for yourself and being in community. So looking to create a safe, supportive learning environment where we can, of course, interact throughout, and that we're going to learn from each other. I'm going to learn from all of you. I'm a new entrepreneur myself, so really looking to create a space where we can feel like we're not alone, and that the support is an important part of leading through uncertainty. So let's get started here. Okay. Before we go into uncertainty, I just want to share a little bit about my leadership story that brought me to this space. So 7 years ago, 33 years into a 36-year banking career, I hit a massive wall, just bam. And I don't mean just a tough quarter. or a hard season. I mean, in like all aspects. I was exhausted. I felt stuck. I was frustrated. I was burned out. And at the same time, I was leading through some pretty extreme corporate reduction in resources and a revolving door of turnover on my teams. And what made it even harder was I had built my career on developing high performing teams that generated strong results. I've always had a growth mindset. I've always believed it was my responsibility to leave things better than I found them. That's where stewardship comes from. And to deliver, results in a really quality way. So I just couldn't reconcile this season and what I was in. And why wasn't it working anymore? What am I missing? And when I made the decision to start working with an executive coach, that's when it kind of started to change. And I'll never forget the conversation, one of the first ones we had. She said, "This will be the hardest work you've ever done, but if you're willing to do it, it will change your life, not just improve your leadership effectiveness." And she was right, because what followed was not a quick fix. It was like a slow unraveling of really a lifetime of thoughts, beliefs, patterns that I didn't even realize were shaping how I was showing up as a leader. And here was the hardest realization, was I was the reason I was feeling the way that I was feeling. Not the corporate decisions being made for me, not my team, not the turnover. It was me. I was the problem. Isn't that a Taylor Swift song? Anyway, I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah. Okay. And that's where everything started to shift. I was introduced to concepts like perceptual intelligence, which we're going to talk about today. Understanding that we don't respond to reality, we respond to our perception of what reality is. I began to do the work with Brene Brown. How many of you have heard of Brene Brown, the author? Yeah, she's great. I've read all of her books. And I was trained by a Dare to Lead trainer. So that work of that self-awareness, vulnerability, courage. And then over time, things really began to change. I stopped leading from a place of this hypervigilance, started leading from a place of actually knowing and trusting myself, gave myself permission to be professionally vulnerable. And I started putting my people first in a different way. And what happened next, like, shocked me. Because I thought, I'm giving up control. Things are going to like explode. The turnover stopped. The results came like almost effortlessly. It was wild. My frustration with people and process disappeared. And that biggest shift, it wasn't the external, it was the internal. I stopped obsessing about the next rung on the corporate ladder. And eventually I made a decision that from the outside, a lot of people thought I'd lost my mind. Didn't make a lot of sense. I left the banking industry after 36 years. I walked away from everything I knew. No more paycheck, no more medical benefits. I mean, I'm talking to entrepreneurs here. You guys know those things are real. Said goodbye to the 401k match. But really what I gained was something I didn't even realize I had been missing. Clarity of who I was and am and how I truly want to help people. Passion for leadership, stewardship, serving others became more meaningful and more joyful than ever before. True joy now comes from a place of leadership results that others experience. I no longer hustle for my own worth. And my hope for you today is that you will walk away with something that feels valuable, relevant, and importantly, actionable in your leadership and in your life. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: leadership in uncertainty doesn't start with what's happening around you. It starts with what's happening within you. So with that, sorry, that story went longer than I thought. What uncertainty are you experiencing right now? And you see just a few examples on the screen. And if none of these, relate or feel, relevant to you, do the other. And I think Sarah's going to share a little Zoom poll. I think this will be just kind of a fun and interesting way for us to kind of speak out. What are we what are we going through? And it can be multiple things, right? It's not necessarily just one uncertainty at a time. We can also go through a whole lot of uncertainty all at once.
Everybody get a chance to answer. Oh,
Great. Let's see what some of our uncertainty is.
do you all see it up there or not quite yet? No, okay. Maybe I have to end it here.
Wait.
Share results.
Ooh,
Yeah,
interesting.
okay, good.
Okay. All right. Well, I threw the other in there just in case, because again, I don't want to assume as entrepreneurs or leaders that you're, kind of going through the typical, business uncertainties. So market volatility, 17%, that makes sense. Lots of uncertainty and unknowns going on in the market, in the world, in a lot of different industries have a lot of challenges right now. Not surprised by revenue and cash flow. Half of you said, that's an uncertain thing. Like when are we gonna when are we gonna see the growth and the cash flow, and when are the payments gonna come in, and then growth and scaling. As a banker, it wasn't the revenue and cash flow that caused a lot of businesses to fail. It was actually businesses that took on too much growth at once, and figuring out how to build that capacity. That's really, really challenging. So that's great. Okay, that gives us kind of an idea of what we've got going on here today with our uncertainty. Okay, so session outcomes. What are we looking to accomplish today? Of course, we want to strengthen that inside out leadership. We're going to start with that, which is the concept that it starts with us. We're going to learn some practical change leadership tools. We're going to build some stakeholder clarity. We're going to practice staying grounded under pressure. Kyle is great at that. She's going to lead us through a practice. Thank you. And then again, hopefully leave with some actionable leadership framework that we feel like we can take away and implement right away. Okay, so inside out leadership concepts. Uncertainty is inevitable, right? We can't control everything. And when we do, that's not our best approach to be in our controlling mindset. Strong leadership is a choice. Now, just because it's a choice doesn't mean it's easy. Making that choice of what strong leadership looks like in the moment, is going to be challenging, but we're going to talk about some things that will really help there. And leadership is contagious. It ripples. It's that ripple effect. Not only for ourselves as we're working on it, it becomes contagious for us, but everyone around us, our teams, our vendors, our clients, and even, within our inner circle, our family and friends, it'll be contagious for them as well. All right. So,
Can
oops.
I just interrupt really quickly to
Yeah.
say that I am not a leadership coach. My skill set is a little bit different. Suzanne, when she says that leadership is contagious and calm is contagious and all of this, I can like attest to that just from having been in her inner circle for 20 years. When you hang out or when bring yourself into community with other strong leaders, you start walking the walk, talking the talk, kind of learning those skills. And as someone we both know would always say, just even being around Suzanne makes you better. And I think that's possible for all of us. It's certainly you have done that for me, Suzanne. So just wanted to stop there and give you that little sunshine.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. She knows I get nervous when I present, so. Okay, so a number of you raised your hand about being aware of the author Brene Brown, and of course, her favorite book of mine is Dare to Lead. So some of this might be a refresher for you. But this is really the foundation of my my journey and the journey that I walk my clients through today. So armored leadership. Okay, what is that? So some examples of armored leadership: avoids hard conversations. We've all been there, right? We either delay or we soften. We don't want to be too clear. We maybe beat around the bush, or maybe we say something really nice, or we say something really clear and then we say but instead of and. So softening difficult discussions. And we do that because we want to stay comfortable. And so that's why it's called armored, because if we want to be comfortable, we're making it about ourselves, and we're often creating confusion or mistrust because people see us acting and saying things that don't align. So, being in our uncomfortable, seeking control, trying to manage people and outcomes tightly in order to reduce uncertainty or risk. Like when we are, just like me, getting hyper vigilant, that also people will become disconnected from us because they see us in our control. Armored leadership is also us reacting to fear. So we're making decisions quickly, rapid fire. And that's coming from our anxiety, our uncertainty about cash flow, our uncertainty about growth and scaling, and other pressures that we may have. Instead of reacting in a way that has clarity and intention around it. And a lot of times, Kyle and I, when we're working with a complex client, it's really about, we talk about proactive mindset, to where we might need to just take a pause and be reflectant about what the next move is, instead of in that fear of, oh my gosh, we've had a bad regulatory exam, the FDIC is coming back, and oh my gosh, we got to start, doing all this stuff. And yes, that's an urgency. But that's also, when we react to fear, we are also disconnecting from ourselves and from others. And so we're going to miss things, and mistakes are going to happen. And our team might not come along for the ride with us. Okay, now here's the good part. The good part is we can be in our daring leadership. And when we're in our daring leadership, that is when we are really our best selves and our best leaders, and making our best business decisions. And so that looks like rumbling with vulnerability. And I always call it professional vulnerability, because some people say, oh, well, I don't want to cry at work, or those kinds of things. It is okay. I've cried at work. A lot of us probably have. Kyle, yeah. So rumbling with vulnerability really is about staying present in discomfort and uncertainty, instead of rushing to fix or avoid. Clear is kind. So that is where, communicate honestly, communicate directly. You can still do it in a kind, compassionate way, even when it's difficult. But that's the way we build trust, and we build alignment. Because as humans, we have a way of sensing if somebody isn't being completely honest with us. And so by having those honest communications in a kind way and create clarity, you're actually doing a kindness, for the other person. And then we lead with courage. That's where we're making decisions that are really guided by our core values and purpose, not by fear or the need for control. If any of you haven't done a core value exercise and reflection to really determine what your core value is, maybe your second core value, we're going to send you a link after this in Sarah's follow-up, to a link to the Brene Brown Daring Leadership Assessment that you can take. But in that, there's a hub, the Dare to Lead hub, and there is a core value worksheet, as well as Kyle will work one-on-one with folks as well on helping determine what those core values are. So really, to sum this up, daring leadership generally feels uncomfortable. So if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable, but moving forward anyway, you are in your daring leadership. And we can't be brave if we know the outcome. Okay, we can't call it bravery. So when we don't know what the outcome of a situation is going to be, that's going to be uncomfortable. But that's how we can kind of help ourselves move forward, because you're all innovators and you're pushing the boundaries, and you're looking for new ways to solve problems. So that's something that I think hopefully resonates with you. And we can remind ourselves, regardless of how uncomfortable something is, being clear with people, being clear with processes, and with our businesses, that is kind. If we're avoiding and not being clear, it erodes trust and can actually end up being unkind. Okay. All right. Any questions about the Dare to Lead armor or daring leadership before we go on to perceptual intelligence? No? Okay. Yeah, Eliana.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. I love everything you're talking about. It's my favorite thing to talk about. I love Brene Brown and Deepak and Hart, all of them. Um, I I just wanted to just confirm that, I mean, everything that you said, I've been experiencing, and not in business, but just like family relations. And it really is true. It's like if you join the conversation with curiosity versus, oh, what you said was wrong, that kind of thing, and I'm right. It just makes all the difference. But I really like the idea of, and I love working with this, is that idea of intentions. Just taking that extra moment to set your intention before you open your mouth about anything. Like, what do I want out of this? Do I want to be right? Do I want a connection with this? Obviously we all want connection. So it's incredibly important. So really appreciate this topic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, you couldn't have teed this up any better. We're gonna even talk about, what happens physiologically to us if we are leading in a heightened state of stress. And so bringing that back to intention. So thank you. Okay, so we're still in inside out leadership. So perceptual intelligence. So I was introduced to perceptual intelligence and went through a program. So I'm certified perceptual intelligence coach. And the premise really is that until I went through this, I thought, you know what, I'm pretty perceptual. I feel people's energy and I'm pretty observant. And what I learned was it was absolutely the opposite. That really the way that our brain works and how it connects to like our eyes, there's a spot behind the retina called a fovea. I'd never even heard of it. But basically, when you are focused, especially hyper focused on something, your perception of everything else goes away to the point where if you do this exercise with me, take your thumb and then put your arm all the way out. And so you're looking at your thumbnail. If you're looking at your thumbnail and you're trying to look very closely at like the little ridges or whatever, you are only able to actually see 1/10 of your thumbnail at a time. That absolutely blew my mind. Now, if there was a speck or something on there, you would be drawn to that and you would be hyper focused on that. And then you wouldn't be, able to really, the ridges would all disappear. So what we see automatically influences how we feel and automatically influences how we act. Like it just rolls. I mean, we don't even have to think about it. And it's not even just what we see with our eyeballs. It's also about the movie screen of the mind, because things that we see with our eyes, but then the things that we don't see, we fill in all the gaps. And the gaps are the stories that we start telling ourselves based on past experience. Oh, that employee, that's a bad employee. That employee did this, or this. So they have to be, they have to be wrong. And that may or may not, be true. So by realizing that we're only consciously perceiving a tiny high definition slice of any situation really puts us into more of a humble curiosity state, where if we feel ourselves getting into judgment or, oh, I don't think am I really perceiving this right? Or do I need to, I need to get wise counsel, or I need to go talk to that person. I need to be curious. and get out of my judgment. And then as, you know, as a leader, this perception, you know, it's driving not only the, you know, the feelings and our emotions, but then our behavior and then our culture. So see, feel, act, that's happening to us automatically. So we really have to question what we see. And then perception, emotion, behavior is what's going to drive the culture of our organizations. Any questions about perceptual intelligence? Okay. So let's put this into just a little bit of practice here. Think about a current uncertainty, and it doesn't have to be the, you know, the one that you put in the poll. It can be a challenge that you're dealing with. It can be a relationship situation, really anything. So when you think about this challenge or this uncertainty that you're going through, or you're trying to figure something out, what is the story in your movie screen of the mind that you're telling yourself about that? Okay, so just think about it. You don't have to speak it, don't have to put it in the chat, because it might be something, you know, maybe it's a personal thing. Now that you have that in your mind, and knowing what we've just talked about with our perceptions, actual reality perceptions are really hard to see. Is the story you're telling yourself, is it fact or is it assumption? And if you're sure that it's fact, how do you know that? And then if you're like, well, maybe I do need to look at this a different way, or maybe I am making an assumption. What else might be true outside of what's going on, you know, inside the head? Again, for you Brene Brown fans, the story that she's telling herself, I hope I don't offend anybody here, but it was in her book. She calls the story that she's telling herself the shitty first draft, the SFD, because she's like 9 times out of 10, whatever the story I'm telling myself, it's really bad, it's really off, and it's not anywhere near, you know, what's really happening. So what else might be true for you? Okay. All right. Thank you for going through that little exercise. Okay, stewardship shift. And this is our last slide before we go into change leadership and stakeholder stewardship. So this is bringing, you know, the armored and daring leadership, our core values, who we are, how we lead, and how we see things. We're really trying to shift from being in our urgency, and we're really trying to go over to intention and impact. So this is taking us from being a reactive leader, hypervigilant, making quick decisions from fear, stress, and really putting it into, what am I intending to do here? What is my intention? Because our intention is in here. Nobody knows that. They just see the impact. They just see how we show up, how we're behaving, how we're acting, that output. And then fear-based to values based. Okay, when we're in our values, people know and want to see us be aligned in that. And then short-term control for really developing long-term trust with the people around you. your teammates, your partners, building for long-term trust is, again, that can be really tied into like growth and scaling of your businesses. And once we regulate and clarify ourselves, we can lead others through change and onto greatness. And once we lead ourselves, that self-awareness, that self-leadership, then we can lead others effectively. And before we go on, Kyle, do you have anything to add to this? I know you do this a bit with some of your clients. No? Okay. Let's go to change leadership and stakeholder stewardship. Okay. So change leadership is really about the people change management, or really about the people. Change management is really about the process. Okay. How do we lead people, change leadership, process, change management? So people, trust, engagement, change management, process, structure, execution. Okay. Change management is about the what and the how, the timelines, the task, the systems, and the execution. And change leadership is really about the who. How do people experience the change, how they respond to it, and whether they trust it? You can think of change management as the roadmap, change leadership as the people in the car. You can have a perfect map, but if the people don't trust the direction, don't understand where they're going, or don't feel safe, you're not going to go very far. So if these things do not happen together, thus the arrows going through, if they do not happen together, you're going to have people resisting the change. Communication doesn't feel empowering. The execution slows down. Then on the other side, if you're not having change management in with your leadership piece, there's no structure, there's no accountability, there's no follow through. So sustainable change happens when the structure and process side and the people side move together. Okay, clear plan, clear communication, defined steps, emotional awareness, execution, and trust. And I don't know about you guys, but it seems like we tend to lean on one or the other. It feels more comfortable, or it's just, kind of who we are. Like, oh, let's just get it done. Okay, I'm more process oriented. Or the other side, the people side, oh my gosh, let's make sure everyone's okay, right? And so we want to kind of come, into the middle of that. So if you guys want to either take yourself off mute, or if it's more comfortable for you, put it in the chat. Which side of this as a leader do you tend to naturally lean towards? The people part or the process part? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And think about your teams, right? If you're, like Sarah, the people side, you probably can relate to people that are more on the process side, on your team, where you're like, oh, we gotta, make sure everybody's okay. So these are good things that we're all different, and approach things differently. And it's how do we how do we bring these into doing more of the simultaneous?
What I find is that it's actually situationally dependent, whether I'm process or people. And
Okay.
I think that I like play off of who else I'm leading something with. If they're people, I'll lean really heavily into my process brain. If they're
Hmm.
process, I'll lean into my people brain. But I think I naturally, organically, and you can probably trust, like, back me up on this. I think I lean towards process. I'm really good at it. And so what that means is I know that about myself. It's something I've learned and accepted. And so I know that I have to be more intentional about the people side because it's not my go-to. I mean, I'm nice, I'm human-centered, I'm a good person, but it's like process. Write a roadmap, make the safety net. We know where we're going to go. Here's the flow. And so because that whatever side comes naturally, it feels like bringing intention into the other side and just knowing it about yourself has worked well for me.
It's worked really well for me too. Because Kyle is the brain behind all my processes.
Stop. I'm gonna blush.
Okay, great. And really, again, stewardship is my core value. It really just means we don't just drive results. Trust me, I'm a results girly. I love results. I'm competitive, I'm driven, I'm growth mindset. Um, and stewardship means we don't just drive results. We have to take care of things along the way. And we have to take responsibility for how those results are achieved and who is impacted along the way. Um, and again, it's not, I know you guys are probably really fast paced entrepreneurs and you just want to go. So I'm not talking about slow way down, just, be mindful about who is being impacted along the way. Because when these two things work together, you're not just implementing change, you're building a stronger, more resilient organization. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. So, common stakeholder questions. Okay. So, let's first, before we talk about these, let's talk about who our stakeholders might be. And go ahead and unmute or go in the chat. Who do you think are some of your stakeholders? Because I think this will be a little more relevant of an exercise if we have some folks in mind. Great. Yeah. Clients, team. Yep. Yeah, potential client. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Anybody that's really being affected, employees, yep, shareholders, customers, business partners, vendors. I was wondering if somebody was going to get vendors. Thanks. Thanks, Beth. Okay. Very good. All right. Yep. Okay. What if there's a couple I didn't see? What do you guys think about investors or lenders or financial stakeholders? I guess those could be also considered vendors. Oh, there we go. Eliana got it. Future investors, partnerships. There we go. Yep. Yep, they're going to be interested in performance, risk, sustainability. Mentors, yep. Okay. Community can be a stakeholder, especially in places like Oregon, like our OEN team. They can be stakeholders. Industry networks, your reputation and your brand presence can be tied into those communities and networks. They can also, your community can also help you shape your long-term influence and opportunity. And then what about you? Are you a stakeholder? Because I think you are. And a lot of people miss this. This is very common. People don't think of themselves. But it's pretty powerful when we're talking about, inside out leadership and taking care of ourselves. Because, what you as a stakeholder need to care about, or what's affecting you, really is things like your energy. Do you have energy, or are you, battery low? Your health, your clarity. If you're depleted, your business will, will feel it a bit. Okay. Some of the things that stakeholders that you mentioned, let's just talk just a little bit about, what are they thinking too? Your employees and your team, these are sometimes the most impacted group when we're talking about leadership. They experience change first and the most directly. They feel that impact of your decisions, every day. Customers, clients, potential clients, revenue, they're your revenue drivers. That's where we're looking to get our cash flow. They're very sensitive to change in service, pricing, quality, communication. They also experience the outcomes of your decisions. So you're making decisions, they're feeling that. If you have a partner or a key leadership team, or key contributors, influence culture and execution of the change, they'll feel that. And also, they can accelerate or stall your change more than really anyone else, because they're the closest. They translate your vision into reality, because we can't do it ourselves. I mean, trust me, I've tried to control everything before without support. It didn't work. And then vendor suppliers, they have operational dependencies. So they get often overlooked too, but they're critical, to your delivery. And they enable your business to function. You've got to have them, with you in there. Okay.
Can I say, I just wanted to say that I think it's really, really important as you're building your foundation of your business to make sure that the people that you are around are consistently feeding you what you need to make everything else go smoothly. So, and if that's, and so just to watch for those red flags, because I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we want so much to not look at any red flags. We just want it to all work. So, but so even though it's harder and might take that some extra time, clean up your ship first before you launch. Just make sure everybody around you is what you need, and if not, change it before, because otherwise you're gonna be way too busy to change it later.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you can also see how these 3 questions, what does this mean? What does this mean to me? can I trust you? Will I be supported? These three questions really can go across all of your stakeholders. And that's where, the fear can come in. So, all right. So we're going on a change. We're making decisions. We know who our key stakeholders are. We know what kind of questions they're going to ask as they're experiencing the decision that we make. And then resistance shows up and you're like, oh no, I made this great decision. I know it's still a good decision. Why is everybody fighting me on this? Or why aren't people executing? Well, a key concept is stakeholder resistance is data. It's data that you can use to go back to your perceptual intelligence and be like, okay, I need to get curious here. I need to have a better understanding of why all of a sudden we're seeing, this resistance. And different stakeholders don't just resist change to resist change. They do it because they experience it, very differently. So we have to get to the bottom of that. Again, employees, they could have a fear about their job, or it could be about their workload. So if there's a concern, it gives you an opportunity to go back and say, actually, this is going to help your workload in the long run. Yes, today it feels like we've got more to do, but what I'm trying to solve for is a better future for you in the long run. So it's going back and having that conversation and not shying away from somebody who you think is being resistant. And it really can signal things that you maybe didn't, think about, even though the previous slide we had some questions that your stakeholders will often ask. But again, curiosity. Okay, let's do a little stakeholder mapping exercise here. And you guys will have this exercise in your takeaway that Sarah's she's gonna get for you after our session. Okay, so when you're leading change, the question isn't just what needs to happen, it's who's impacted, what might they be thinking or feeling, and what do they need from me, as a leader. Right. So this is just for you to make some notes, or, type it up. And we're not going to go through this just for time today. But I think this is a really good exercise. Anytime you're leading a change, write it down or type it up. List 3 stakeholder groups. Who is going to be affected by this change? And there might be more. Identify one fear that each group might carry about the change that you're going to implement, or the decision that you've made. And then lastly, what leadership actions will you take while you're engaging each stakeholder group? So you're going to go into your curiosity brain and stay out of your judgment brain, because you want to have good impact. And here's just a cool slide that Kyle put together for us. This is just a lot of what we've been talking about up until this point under stakeholders. There's things in here that, we can be really mindful of, from culture to being grounded to being professionally vulnerable, that you're being clear, you're having those brave, conversations. Okay. Okay. Communication is a really important piece to stakeholders, right? So you guys have probably heard this: communicate early, communicate often, repeat key messages, and be transparent about what you don't know. We don't have to have all the answers. It's okay for any of our stakeholders to know that we don't know. But let them know that you have a plan about it, or let them know that you'd love their insight, or what has their experience been. Use a mentor, use a coach. Continuous learning is a really important part of being a great leader. Okay, benefits of a strong communication cadence. Okay, so when you're setting up your cadence of how often you're going to be communicating due to your change or your leadership, when it's inconsistent, people fill in the gaps. Remember that story? Your people or your stakeholders are going to tell stories in their head, and they're going to be worst case scenarios. Okay, and if you're silent, they will feel the fear. Silence equals fear. Inconsistency in communication causes confusion. So a steady cadence gives people something to kind of hold on to. And really, trust isn't built in one big message. Sometimes as leaders, we put this great big message together and we think, oh, my communication is so good. I put so much time into it. Great. But it's really built over time and through consistency. Even when you don't have all the answers, showing up regularly matters more than perfection. And consistency really signals to your stakeholders stability. Okay. Any questions about communication, cadence, how often?
I don't know if I mean, this is kind of a pocket, but one question that I have, which is just like with buyers for like, I don't want to bother them because I know they get hundreds of emails, for example, market of choice and new seasons market.
Sure.
But and there is a great it's almost daily. It's like 3 times a week. A report. It's is Robert. He used to be with New Seasons. Now he started his own podcast and I can reach out to him. But that is one of the main things. Is like, what is, other than occasionally touching base with them on, oh hey, we just got this, or like, how often should you touch base with a buyer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I actually have a client right now that is in a space where her business development really is majorly dependent on buyers in a retail space. And there's a lot of turnover, and people go and they move and they go to different stores and all of that. So I think having a good strategy around the buyers, and what do you want that strategy to look like? How do you want them to feel when you're reaching out? Not just like, oh, I've got a new such and such and I wanted to show you. Yeah, that's a great reason. And I say anytime you have a reason, if anything has changed at all in your business that might affect them, even if it's good news, like, hey, I've implemented some new, efficiencies, and we're able to get our product out the door quicker, sooner. I've hired somebody, and we're just doing really well, and we're excited about our capacity building. Sharing your good news with people that you would think wouldn't be interested. I think buyers are interested in that, and find find a way to connect with them and put yourself in their shoes. Like, and you already are, because you're like, they're very busy. And I think because it's hard to say like how often, I just think it has to be often, depending on how busy they are. Is it once a month? Once a quarter seems like that would be maybe a little too long. And try different types of communication, calling, emailing, I don't know, LinkedIn notification. Try different forms, of that. And then you'll just kind of get a feel. And open up the lines of communication with them too. Make it easy for them to find you. I know some buyers, they're so busy, they just want to be able to text someone. And if you have the capacity to allow that, something as simple as, hey, I want to be your most responsive provider. So feel free to, text me anytime. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that every buyer's different.
Yeah.
And some just really don't want to be bothered. So I think once a month is probably a safe amount.
Yeah.
I think that's a good amount.
Yeah. Feels
And
right.
then, yeah, and then other opportunities come up where they instigate an email, a group email, and then you can just, say thank you, like, or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, respond back. Yes, respond back to them.
Yeah.
You want them thinking about you more than anyone else. Even if you feel like, oh, I don't want to be a pest.
Right.
But I want to be relevant. I want them to be aware, and I want them to think of me because
Yeah.
I'm thinking of them.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're now going to transition out of the change leadership, how it affects our leadership under uncertainty with our stakeholders, into the staying human under pressure. So I'm just going to give you a few tidbits here before Kyle leads us through her practice here. Okay, so before we talk about what to do, I want to name what's actually happening in our bodies when pressure hits. Okay, it's not really a metaphor, it's actual biology. So I'm going to get a little sciencey. So when your nervous system perceives a threat, and in leadership, that threat might be a hard conversation, a board meeting, conversation with a buyer, team member who's struggling, or just the weight of just too many decisions. Your body starts to respond, with one of these 4 patterns, right? And we're familiar with most of these: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And fawn, which is the people-pleasing response that often goes kind of unrecognized in leaders because it looks like accommodation. And the problem isn't that you have these responses. The problem is when you lead from them without being aware or knowing it. That's when it gets difficult. And here's the thing: your team feels it before you do. So again, your nervous system is really driving, your leadership behavior. Calm is contagious. Your nervous system is not a private experience. It broadcasts out the tone of your voice, the pace of your breathing, your posture, your presence. Your team is reading all of it constantly, often unconsciously. Dysregulation in the body spreads fast. We've all been in a room where one anxious leader made everyone else anxious. You could just tell by the way they entered the room. But here's what the research on co-regulation tells us. Steadiness actually spreads faster. A regulated leader creates the conditions for a regulated team. You don't have all the answers. You don't have to perform calm. You just have to be in your body, be present, be honest. And that's really what we mean when we say, staying human under pressure. So how do you actually do that, especially in the middle of a hard moment? That's what we want to give you now. So I'm going to turn this over to Kyle, and she's going to guide us through. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, my pleasure. Suzanne, thank you for this presentation. I'm learning so much from you, like I always do. Everyone else, I'm really happy to be here with you. What we're going to do is a practice called reset. And reset stands for rest, exhale, shift, explore, and tune in. If you can walk away from this session with remembering reset, you'll do yourself a favor, even if you don't remember what the acronym stands for in its entirety. So if you just remember, for example, rest and shift, or if you remember explore and tune in, any piece of these, of this acronym is going to be a tool that you can pull out when you feel your nervous system starting to get dysregulated, when you notice yourself going into fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And I think there's one other that I hear sometimes. If anyone knows the other F in the chat, I would love to be reminded. Anyway, before I guide you through this practice, I'd like to show you what the practice entails. And this is part of a good communication strategy for leaders to show people what they're going to do before you tell them they're going to do something new. So we orient ourselves to a new way of doing things. I'm orienting you to what this practice is going to be before I ask you to trust me and drop into it. So we're going to go through the acronym. R is for rest, and this is simply about arriving in your body, letting gravity do a little of the work for you. E is for exhale, and we'll be starting off with some easy breathing to release what you're carrying, and then a little bit more slow, intentional breath. S is for shift. Here, I'll be inviting some gentle movement into your body to bring your attention out of your thinking mind and kind of shift it into your limbic system. Then explore. This is where I will invite you to get curious, noticing and naming without judgment what is loudest or strongest within you. Finally, we will go T for tune in, and this is where we bring it all together, mind, body, and presence. So now that you know what the practice looks like, we'll go ahead and get started. So inviting everyone to find a comfortable sitting position. You are also welcome to lay down if that feels good. If you have any open tabs on your computer that are going to distract you, or your phone, welcoming you to let that be somewhere else for the moment. Turn your phone over, turn your ringer off, let yourself be here. And then Suzanne, you can go back. I'm not looking at the screen, but you can go back to the rest slide.
You see it, Kyle?
Okay. So from here, it's my invitation that if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes. Knowing you can always reopen them. You can blink them open if you feel you need to or want to. But for now, just seeing how it might feel to close your eyes. Maybe even just softening your gaze if closing them doesn't feel good. Let yourself start to get heavy, sinking down into your chair, the floor. Really letting gravity do this work and hold you so that your chair is doing the work, the floor under that is doing the work, and even the earth under that is holding you. One thing that I just love to think about is gravity as a force of love, that gravity is like holding us all to earth. And spoken like a true Oregon hippie. So try that on. See if that feels good, that earth is just holding you right now. And as you continue to let yourself get heavier and letting go of any tension or control that you're hanging on to, inviting you to following the rhythm of your own breath. On your next exhale, let it be really intentional. So just emptying all the way out, gently and slowly. And now at your own rhythm, go ahead and take 3 slow breaths all the way in and all the way out. And 2 more. And now we move into the shift part of the practice. And here I'm going to invite you to try one or pick all 4 of these movement prompts that I give you. One that's so easy and so accessible. It's just to shrug your shoulders up to your ears and then exhale them down your back. And you can just keep doing that for just a moment. See how it feels. I'm feeling it more in one shoulder than the other, if I'm completely honest. But this is helping turn your focus inward. Another one is twisting your head from side to side. Scanning the environment. You could even try to twist your whole body, your whole torso. And what this does is help release any physical tension even further, and it signals safety to your nervous system. Some twisting can even stimulate your vagus nerve, which activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of the fight, flight, freeze sympathetic nervous system. Another one is massaging your ears. So another great access point to the vagus nerve is through your ears. And you can tug on them, you can kind of massage from the top to the bottom. And just noticing what feels good to you and follow that. And then lastly is just to humming and gargling for that matter. The back of the throat is also an access point to these nerves that really help relax us. So you can, or you can sing a little song. You can make any noise you want as long as it's sort of from the back of your throat. And then before we move to the next piece of this practice, just taking whatever type of movement feels good for your body right now. Shaking is always good. Shaking really can release all kinds of tension from our bodies, and it's kind of fun. It can look a little crazy for a minute. It's great. All right, we move on to E, explore. So here, if you do have your eyes open, I really encourage you to close them because I want you to turn your awareness inward and just be in curiosity. So we're not trying to fix anything. We're not trying to judge or criticize anything. Simply noticing what thoughts are loudest right now, what feelings or emotions are strongest. You're literally just noticing. So exploring. You might even notice that you have a thought or emotion that's connected to a part of your body, such as I feel a little nervous in my solar plexus right now because I'm presenting. So that's real for me. There might be something real for you. Sometimes you can even do kind of a body scan and notice if there are any thoughts or emotions associated with the different parts of your body. And lastly, we move to T, tune in. So bringing it all together, your mind, your feelings, your body, all of it, let it be here in this moment. I like to place a hand over either my chest or my belly or sometimes my lower abdomen and just connect myself to myself, welcome all my parts home, all the parts of my brain, my thoughts and feelings. And when you're ready, inviting you to whisper an anchor phrase that really solidifies that you are here. Something like, I am here, or here I am, or I am present, or one of my favorites, and so it is. So whatever phrase might match this feeling of anchoring you, grounding you in what is here, what is true for you right now, inviting you to think that or whisper it. And now I'm going to invite you to just rest in this peaceful silence for about 1 minute, and then you'll hear my voice guiding you back. And before you come all the way back, I want to invite you to just start bringing your awareness from inside to outside by noticing the temperature of the room that you're in, noticing again what it feels like to sit on whatever you're sitting on or lying on. Maybe you want to take a couple stretches or wiggle your fingers and toes. And then gently and as slowly as you desire, go ahead and open your eyes, blink them open, and come back to us. All right, welcome back. Thank you for indulging me in that, and thanks for carrying on. The slide in front of you now is leadership intention. So when you open your eyes, you'll see leadership intention. Who do I want to be in this moment? Don't think too hard about this. Just from this place of hopefully you feel a little bit more grounded, a little bit calm. What's an intention that you can walk away from this session with? Don't need to write this down. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just go ahead and let that bubble up. And with that, Suzanne, thank you so much for letting me be a part of your beautiful workshop. And I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kyle.
My pleasure.
It was lovely. I'm always reminded that just the clarity that I have when I just take, and you guys saw that didn't take very long. I always am telling myself, I don't have time to do that for myself. But in essence, we do have time to do that for ourselves. One other question I want to leave you with is just what insights shifted for you during this session? And there's no pressure to put this in the chat. You can just reflect on this if that feels better, or if you just need more reflection time, that's okay too. But if something comes right to the forefront of some things that have shifted and you want to speak those out in the chat, just feel free to feel free to do that. Okay, let's bring this home. So we have some time for questions. Well, I guess we don't have a ton of time left for questions. I'm happy to stay on just a little bit, Sarah. I don't know if that's okay with you or not. Okay. Okay, so this is where we've been today. We started with regulate our self-awareness, our inside out leadership. We moved to how to effectively engage our stakeholders and to stay curious, and then how to stay human under pressure, the practice that Kyle took us through. And then again, one more question. What is one action you can take this week? Even if it's we put so much pressure on ourselves to do so many things, if there's just one thing that you're taking away that you will implement this week, whether it's Kyle's practice or the leadership assessment for yourself or do the stakeholder mapping, just do one impactful thing. Okay. Any questions? Sorry, I'd hoped to have a little more time. I guess I was too wordy.
No, it was great. It's wonderful. And if something comes up for anyone who's here, you'll have both Suzanne and Kyle's information as well. So make sure to connect with them on LinkedIn, and then you can always reach out via email as well.
Yeah, if there aren't any questions, just a reminder what comes out in the takeaway email. You'll have some tools, you'll have a one-pager. Yeah. And then there's a QR code there. And then just I'll send you off with uncertainty will always be part of the journey, but the way we choose to lead through it, that's what shapes us. That's what helps shape our people and our business and ultimately the impact that we have in the world. So thank you again for being here with us today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Suzanne and Kyle. We really appreciate you, and thank you for leading us through that exercise. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I need to remind myself of that often. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you taking the morning to start your morning with us. Check out our website, oen.org, for upcoming events. There's a ton of things happening this month, next month. So make sure you check it out to get plugged in. Like I said earlier, we'll do a follow-up. Like I said, it might be later today, it might be tomorrow, it might even be Monday, just kind of based on the OEN schedule, but it is coming. And obviously, like I said, reach out to Kyle and Suzanne with additional questions and make sure you connect with them. Thank you all so much and have a good rest of your day. See you.
Bye. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Kyle.